Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om to all of you. Welcome to YuvaGita session by the YuvaKendra. We have seen the 14th chapter in which Bhagavan Krishna, Lord Krishna, explained the three qualities of human mind, Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic, and also explains what are the effects, what are the influences, and all the details. And in this chapter, chapter 15, which is known as Purushottama Yoga, the Supreme Being, Krishna is going to explain the highest goal of human life and how to treat the world that we see around us. This is a very practical guide, and that is why the tradition holds that every person who is spiritually inclined should chant the verses of this chapter every day before meal to remind oneself about the goal, about the means, and also the practical applications of the philosophy. To start with, the creation, according to Advaita Vedanta, is different from all other various theories that are found in various religions. First and foremost is that it is known as Vivartavada. That means the world is an appearance. Brahman, the supreme reality, appears as the world, which means the reality of the world is questioned. Like a person when he or she is sleeping and getting into the stage of dream, in the dream, that person may see many things, interact with many people, do many things, experience many things, joys and sorrows. Upon waking up, that person realizes that the entire experience that he or she had in the dream state was himself or herself. There is nobody in the dream other than oneself. Yet, the experience is so vivid, so intense, so much of variety. If you can understand that your dream is your own creation, or you yourself is dreaming yourself to be the many, in the same way, the entire creation is none other than God's dream, Brahman's dream, in which that very Brahman itself is appearing as varieties of things. Brahman undergoes no change while appearing as the world. Just like a dreamer goes through many experiences in the dream, but when he wakes up, he has not gone through any change. Whatever be the tragedies and comedies that he experienced in this state of dream, or he might have walked very tiringly during the entire dream, or he might have been attacked by the lion, or he might have even gotten old. But yet when he wakes up, he's just only 8 hours older than the time when he went to sleep. But in the dream, it looked like many years. So Brahman undergoes no change, even as it appears as varieties of this world. And with that standpoint, or from that standpoint, when we look at this world, from the eyes of the Lord, when we look at the world, there is no absolute reality of the pluralistic names and forms. Please understand, Gita gives us the loftiest vision, highest vision possible. We are, some people say, Swamiji, we are down to earth people, give something practical. This is practical. See, when we go through joys of life, various happy events of life, we never question the reality of things. Only when we meet tragedies and loss, sorrows, failures, suddenly we start questioning the reality of the world. Why should this failure be mine? Why should I go through these things? Everybody else is happy except me, especially when you're looking at the Facebook where your friends are enjoying their life, going on vacation, this and that, you feel I'm all by myself doing nothing. I have no vacation at all. See, my life is a tragedy. So when we do not have a so-called experiences which are pleasurable, happy, and suddenly we think, oh, these are all, I wonder whether it's all real at all. It's like when you are watching a movie, whenever you doubt the reality of the experience. After the end of the movie, it's all story, just drama. But when you are inside the drama or experiencing the various instances shown in the movie, you are so engrossed, you never ask that question. So let us look at from the standpoint of the Lord and understand the entire whole world. Nothing is exceptional. Nothing is left behind. Everything is included. Your past, your present, your future. Your parents, your sister, your brother, your guy boyfriend or a girlfriend or a wife or a husband or children, your business, the mountains, the rivers, the planetary system, the sun, the moon, the galaxy, everything is included here. The whole thing is a pluralistic mere appearances, but not real. Now, Swamiji, when nothing is real, will you not lose interest in experiencing it? Not at all. In fact, you experience it with a greater joy because you know it's not real. Now, who stops from experiencing the movie? Movie is experienced, right? You're not saying the movie is unreal, therefore I won't experience. Is it so? You look for the first show. You want to go and enjoy the first screening. Why? Knowing pretty well it is all story and there is no reality in that. Is it not that we are so excited to go and sit in front of the TV or in front of our iPad or go to a movie theater and sit there and eating popcorn and ice cream and want to enjoy that? In the same way, knowing pretty well the world which is bringing comedies and tragedies to us, knowing that to be totally unreal, you won't mind enjoying it. You will enjoy it better, I'm telling you. Because at the end of it, you know that nothing has happened. I am the same. No tragedy and comedy that happened there can affect me. There is no reality to that. So, and therefore, there is no real beginning or an end. It's beautifully said in Gita, Narupamasya asya iha. For this, there is no real nature. Na anto na cha adihi, na cha sampradishta. There is no anta end. There is no adi, the beginning. Na sampradishta. There is no real continuation of this. This world is such a pure figment of imagination of the Lord. No, do not think it is your imagination. Okay, this is where you have to very, very be careful. The world is not your imagination. The world is God's imagination. Why I am saying this is that you are part of his imagination. You are also a part of his that entire imagination. It is like, somebody makes or draws a beautiful painting. And in that painting, there are many things. The rivers are there, the river is there, mountain is there, plants are there, a beautiful green field, and there is a bullock cart. In that bullock cart, there is a person sitting, and he is driving the bullock cart, let us say, in the countryside, beautifully painted. Now the bulls are there, the cart is there, the field is there, the mountain is there, everything is there. And the person who is sitting in the bullock cart thinks that the entire thing is a imagination. It is not. Why? Because he himself is an imagination. Part of that imagination. Only the painter knows the entire thing is a creation. Creation of imagination. So until we lift ourselves to the Godhood, one cannot deny or merely misunderstand the whole world as my own imagination. It is not your imagination. Just like the dreamer, until he wakes up from the dream, he cannot deny the dream. Can he deny the dream? While in the dream, he can never deny the dream. Why? He is a part of the dream. Only on waking up, he knows the entire thing is his own figment of imagination. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. That's why Shankaracharya says, only when you realize what is true, from that standpoint alone, you can see the world as unreal. So the world manifests in Brahman, remains in Brahman, merges back into Brahman. Just like the dream coming out of the dream, the waker, the person who's sleeping, remains continuous in the person who is sleeping, and when he wakes up, it merges back to him only. If I have to ask you what dream you had on 13th February 2010. Hard date you are saying, Swamiji. Yeah, I'm asking you. 13th February 2010. You were alive, right? No. You go back to your diary if you are having the habit of writing diary and find out what you were doing on that day. Or that night, what dream you had. You won't remember. Even 2 days back, what dream we had, we won't remember. See, it is to say, this dream is not a permanent experience. The dream is a temporary experience. It doesn't last long. And therefore, see, temporarily it is manifesting out of you. It remains for a temporary time and then merges back into yourself. So also this world is originating from Brahman, the supreme reality. It remains in that Brahman, that one supporting this entire creation, and merges back into him alone. So this chapter explains the imperishable as the substratum and everything else as perishable. Except the supporting substratum, everything else is constantly changing and subject to disappearance at some point of time. We ourselves know. One day, when I was talking to my old friends, some friends whom we had when I was in the university, I was in touch with them through Facebook and WhatsApp and all. And suddenly, one of them said, this one of my friend, he recently passed away through a heart attack or something. So I was thinking about that person. That guy during the university days used to be very, 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 very famous person. Famous in the sense, everybody used to hang around him because he's like a dada. He has a gunda, or what you call it, as a person um, who will take care of everybody's problem. Just fighting, physically fighting. And he used to be ferocious. He used to fight with anybody and everybody, and he would do whatever he wants to do. Even the lecturers and professors were afraid of him. And he was not, it's not an evil or something, but he used to have his own way. He will suddenly walk out of the classroom and walk into the classroom whenever he wants. Not to disrespect, but that is because somebody had called him for a problem, he'll just walk out. And whenever he finishes it, he will just walk in. The professor won't say a thing. So we used to consider him like a hero, That fellow died. What happened? Heart attack. So when I was closing my eyes and remembering him, what are the things he did? What are the ways he used to behave? And after all, finally what? Finally, the body falls and dies. Whatever he had done, whatever things that he did, is no more. It's gone, over, complete. Nothing stays behind. So also with our life also, whatever we do, whatever good things or bad things we do, finally, we all have to meet the same end. Everything, not only human beings as we are, but everything, every flower, every fruit, every leaf, every bird, every animal, every human, every nation, every culture, all of them are finally to undergo the change and die. So, therefore, everything is constantly perishing except the substratum. So, the imperishable is called, the support is called Supreme Being. That is what is the topic of this chapter, Purushottama. Purusheshu Uttamaha, Purushottama. So, this will be the main essence of this chapter. Now, we'll go to the details. First of all, Krishna explains the tree of life. What is this tree? Yes, you see in this picture, the tree is upside down. Urdhvamulamatashakam. Urdhvamulam. Moolam means root. Urdhva means upward. That is, turning towards oneself does not happen until there is dispassion over the world of objects and awareness that the world is rooted in Brahman. Two things we need to understand. We must understand the world as very temporary, and because of that very reason it is temporary, one should not passionately get attached to things. One should handle with dispassion. Secondly, one must turn the attention to the Brahman, to the Absolute, even as one watches and experiences the world. The awareness that the world is rooted in Brahman. And that is what is picturized here. This people tree represents the tree of life. In Sanskrit, the word Ashwatha. Ashwatha is a people tree. Ashwatha word is explained beautifully as Ashwastha. That means that which does not remain the same till tomorrow. Ashwatha. Shwa, tomorrow. Stha, stays. Na or it doesn't. Urdhvamulamadash-shakam ashwattam prahuravyayam. This imperishable tree is considered as that which does not stay in the same condition next day. Meaning every moment it is changing. It is constant changing phenomenon. Nothing other than the eternal self remains in the same condition. If you look back into yourself, when you were just 4 or 5 year old, at that time also you had your friends, you had your toys, you had your own playful days. You went to a place where you started learning some basics of education, but most of the time you were playing. At that time also you were aware, at that time also you were conscious of your thoughts or emotions and feelings, your desires, etc. And today, now, at this moment also, you are aware of who you are. What has changed? Your desires have changed. Your friends have changed. Your life living style has changed. Your priorities have changed. Your body has changed. Huh? Everything has changed. But you, the one who was that time when you were 5-year-old, now you're 50-year-old or 20-year-old, 30-year-old. You are the same. So that eternal self remains the same condition while everything else undergoes constant change. This tree of life has its roots above. Urdhva moolam. Moolam, the root. Urdhvam, above. Above means what? Above is not physically above, not spatially above. Above means the highest. No, when we are to take some decisions and somebody comes to us and says that, can you make this happen? No, no, no. I have to ask the higher authorities, people above me. Oh, physically, when you look up, there is nobody there. Only ceiling is there. No, no, no. I don't mean above me means not physically above, sitting me above me, but who have a greater authority, responsibility, and abilities. So above, when it is said, it is not physically above, even though the picturization is like that, that the roots of this tree are going upward, as against the usual tree where the roots are always going downward. Even in a family picture of yours, or when you are coming from a large family, if you have to put a family tree, where do you put your grandfather? Above you, correct? And what about a great grandfather? Definitely much above, in the whole of the chart, topmost. And then other people, and then further down and further down. And you coming in this particular present condition, you are one among the many children, that person who had, who's your great grandfather. He had many brothers and sisters, and he also had many children. Out of those children, there are many children. Out of the children, further more children. So where is your great grandfather? Above. In the same way, Brahman, with the power of Maya, is the one which is the root of the entire thing, is above. Above. See, in all religions, when they are worshipping God, they look above. Is it not when you are doing salutations to the Lord? Oh Lord, you don't look down, you look up only. When you pray also, you look above. Oh Lord. So above means one who is higher, greater, wiser, intelligent. At the same time, compassionate, loving, forgiving, graceful. Branches downward, meaning from that very root alone, the branches have stemmed forth. Like in a tree, the roots are those which are the sustaining power, which sustains or brings in water and other elements, other resources for the tree to survive. In the same way, from that Brahman alone, the sustenance is taken care, and therefore the branches that come down are the varieties of names and forms. Urdhva moolam adashakam. Downward is the branches. The name of the tree is Ashwatha. Ashwatam prahuravyam. Then comes the leaves. Chandam siyasya parnani. Parnani means the leaves. Leaves are those which protect the tree, takes care of the tree, and therefore, which are all the leaves for this tree of life where you and I live? The Vedas, the repository of wisdom, which guide us throughout the life, gives life's instructions. Somebody beautifully said, the expansion of what is Bible is an acronym of what? Basic instruction before you leave earth. Bible. Basic instruction before leaving earth. So in the same way, Vedas are considered as the very source book of all wisdom, and that can guide us in life, what to do and what not to do, how to do and how not to do, when to do and when not to do, what is virtue, what is vice, what is papa, what is punya, what are the noble values and character traits that we need to develop, etc. All those details are there, which are as though protecting the entire tree of life. Then he who knows this world in this way is truly wise. What are the things that we need to know? One, primarily, everything has come down from Brahman, the Absolute. Second is the branches that are coming down as a word of varieties and forms are nothing but the expression of the same thing. See, when you see a tall tree, a beautifully growing tree of, let us say, 20 feet high. 20 feet high is the tree, let us say. Do you think the branch is only 5 inches or 10 inches or 2 feet? If there is 20 feet of a tree standing, the branches will be much more than 20 to 25 to 30 to 50 feet. Because it is under the earth, you don't see it. In the same way, this world that we are experiencing as the cosmos is so vast, so incomparably wide and spread, immeasurable, beginning and end is not known. Its cause or the source, the root is what it would be. Do you think this expression of this cosmos itself is timeless and spaceless, immeasurable? What about that which is the very source of it? So that is what is picturized here. The branches we see, we don't see the root. The root is above, imperceptible. And the leaves that are there, which are all considered as the knowledge that so far what we know in this world. Human perception, human observation, human intelligence have learned certain things as the theories about creation and about matter. All this repository of knowledge is found in the Vedas. The very source of Veda is the Lord himself. He has revealed to us certain secrets through that. So those who know the Vedas as the one which have come from the Lord himself, they know everything and they are truly wise. That's what Krishna says. Continuing, what is this human world? Let us look at carefully about our own existence. Human world, what is it? Of this tree of life, branches that extend downward from the evolved life forms up to the plants. Human beings are considered as among the living beings is the most evolved. Why it is called evolved? Why the humans are evolved? Because the very fact that human beings can think. Any thinking animal is better than the unthinking ones. Because very thinking itself makes the individual able to decide to do or not to do and take the decision based upon experience. Whereas a cat or a rat or a dog, etc., each one of them, even though they have other abilities which human beings may not have, like a lion or like a cheetah, you can run so fast, or a bird which can fly, or even a small little bee that can extract honey from the flowers. Every living being has got some special ability, and which is not imitable. Inevitable is this creation. Everyone has got a special feature. Even a cockroach, for example, it can survive for days together even without food. Not day, months. You and I cannot, skip even one breakfast. We get so hungry and unhappy about it. So every living being has got something special. But what is special about human beings? Thinking, ability to think. So from the thinking evolved human being onward, all the species up to the, immobile plant, all of them are nothing but the branches coming down from the original root. So to say, Brahman being the original cause, all of us are expressing the same Brahman in different ways based upon our limited abilities. Tatapadam tat parimargitam, continuing, he says, the branches also extend up to Brahma, the creator. So the branches not only come down, and they go up also. Adhaschamulani anusantadani karmanubandhini manushaloke. So it can go up also. Adhascha urdhvam, the adha, down below, it goes down. Urdhva. Meaning all the devatas, all the higher living beings, all the celestials, all the swargas. It is said in the in the Indian Hindu scriptures, there are 7 worlds above us, including our own present world where we are. There are 6 more worlds above. So we are in Bhuhu, then there is Bhuvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Sat. So Bhuvaha, Swaha, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Swaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. These are all the 6 other worlds. Then there are worlds below us: Atala, Vitala, Talatala, Rasatala, Mahatala, Patala. So there are total 14 worlds that are talked about in our scriptures. We are right in the middle somewhere. So these 7 worlds are considered as higher, starting from human world, and 7 worlds are considered to be lower, below the human world. Below means, again, not physical. Below means in terms of their maturity, in terms of their abilities, in terms of their intelligence, they are much less. And those 6 worlds above us are, by maturity, by intelligence, by abilities, they are higher. So this branch of the tree is going downward up to a plant, upward up to the creator Brahma. See, it is interesting. Our great masters have thought about this. We think that we are the most intelligent people in this world, in this cosmos. When we look at the great monuments that are there in this world today, pyramid, for example, when you look at this, you realize in today's world, you cannot create a replica of that with the same technology which they had at that time. Today, you may have a new technology to make that kind of a pyramid. Think about the original pyramid was done with that time available technology and skill and engineering designs. How did they do it? Think about it. Today, we are able to travel fast and reach to places. And think about somebody who's living in one part of a world trying to communicate to other person in other part of the world. Is it possible? So think about it some 100 years back, how it was possible. Was it possible? Adi Shankaracharya, great exponent of Advaita Vedanta, whose tradition we follow, he lived only for 32 years. He died when he was 32. Now, when did he become very aware of what he needs to do in his life? 16 years old, when he was 16 years old. From then onwards, he started to write all the commentaries on Bhagavad-Gita, Upanishad, and other things on his own composition. And not only that, he traveled from one part of the country in India to other end of the top of the mountains in Himalayas, and came back again back to the south and went back again to the 3 times. He made a complete trip from top of the country to bottom of the country, all by walking. He went to many different places, reinstalled, reconsecrated temples, spoke to the scholars, and made sure that his thoughts are, understood, and established his own samsthanas or establishments, taught to many people on the way, wrote the poetries, compositions, commentaries. It is humanly not possible. Available these resources, he could do so much. So now think about it, how it is possible for the people who built the pyramid at that time with that technology. Could they do it? How could they do it? So there is a higher intelligence in work, actually in action, which we do not have access right now. It may be aliens, it may be people from another part of the universe, maybe, or our masters have thought that it is deities, gods with greater abilities come to help human beings to establish certain things. So the 6 worlds above us are considered as higher in their knowledge, wisdom, abilities, intelligence, everything. Whereas we ourselves know, while living in this world, that there are limited creatures. Look at a crocodile, or look at a snake, look at a dog, look at a small worm. We know how their abilities are so limited, their intelligence is so limited, their observation about the world is limited, though they have, as I said, some uniqueness about them. So we ourselves know that in this very world itself, there are other living beings which are limited. So branches extend upward up to Brahma, downward up to plant life. And branches are nourished by the qualities of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Each one of us, not only human beings, all living beings also. They all are nourished by the qualities of sattva, rajas, and tamas. In the way they think, many different things, not only the mental abilities, but also the choices that they make. What are the choices that they make about the food, about the living conditions, about the choice of life? All these things are decided by the quality of thinking. So, for example, when we have a sattva, rajas, and tamas, based upon only our experiences are also there. We'll come to that a little later. So, its buds, shoots are the sense object constantly sprouting. Sense objects or the experiences through the senses are constantly sprouting in front of us for us to get distracted and indulge in. So additional subsidiary roots are due to actions performed due to vasanas stretching into the human world. Why do we do certain things in certain ways and somebody else is doing some other way? It's because of individual impressions that we carry, which makes this entire creation vibrant. See, when you look at your own home, you are studying probably the Gita, and your brother or sister is watching a movie, and your father basically busy with his phone calls. He's maybe handling some clients in India or somewhere else. And your mother probably she's busy with the household activities or cooking, or she's preparing herself for another upcoming event or a party in the weekend, or she's talking to her friends. Everybody is doing something actively. Why a person is actively engaged in what he or she does, and how that person is busy with that, you will realize it's all based upon the inherent impressions each one of us are carrying. You have a vasana to study spiritual book or Gita, therefore you are sitting now and listening to this. Somebody doesn't have that. They may be living in the same room or the same house in which you live, but they don't have that vasana. Then we do something else: painting, watching TV, sports, reading newspaper, talking politics, or something else. No, you cannot blame anybody. Every one of us are driven by our own vasanas. These are all the subsidiary roots of the tree. If you can imagine the tree having roots, branches, and leaves, and all these things are beautifully explained. And the form remains imperceptible in the way it is described. You don't see this tree of life as an external physical standing tree. But imagine the entire creation as a gigantic tree whose roots are above up to in Brahman, and branches are coming all the way down, and all the way up to the inert living beings or immobile living beings. All are included in this way, but you can't see it that way. So in its beginning or end, continuation remains always unknown, which we have explained earlier also. Now the goal of life is pointed out by Krishna. What is the goal of life while living in this particular tree of life? He says, felling the tree of life with the sword of detachment and reaching the state of no return. State of no return is considered as the goal of human life. After explaining all these things, Swamiji, you are asking us to cut this tree? Exactly. Why? Why should we cut this tree? It's such a beautiful one. Lot of branches, lot of leaves, beautiful green. And it took so much time for it to grow. And you ask me to mindlessly, inhumanly cut this tree? Why? See, though the tree of life is enjoyable in the realm of ignorance, it binds the individual in many, many ways. This tree of life is not giving you freedom. This tree of life will not allow you to engage or enjoy an eternal bliss. It's only giving momentary pleasures. So because in the mood of tamas, it brings laziness, negligence, inertness, indulgence, and so on, binding us strongly with sensuousness and ignorance. Just like in sleep or a lazy state of mind, where you do not want to become you don't want to do anything, you remain unproductive, inert, and you feel comfortable, especially when somebody asks you to get up very early in the morning while you want to really enjoy your slumber. That is the state of tamas. At that time, even if somebody says, come on, I'll give you $100, get up. No, I don't want $100. I just want to sleep. At that time, sleep or the lethargy and laziness is the most desirable. Now, if a person is filled with tamas, filled with this inertia, and he enjoys only that, not doing anything, lazy. No, you tell him, no, I will give you $100 if you can only wake up and then do certain things, XYZ things. $100. Can you make it $500? Start negotiating. Because based upon what you want, so will be your negotiation, right? $100, I don't think much. Give me 500, then I may probably get up. Probably get up. Because your lethargy, lazy state is most joyful and blissful than getting up and sweating. But if you are driven by some desire, rajas, then frenzy of activities. The world of the mood of rajas, there is a frenzy of activities with passion and extrovert engagements. And that binds us with karma and karma phalam. This action and result of action. Most people who are driven, who are ready to accomplish many things in their life, in professional life, and trying to achieve their goals, etc., they are all driven by, stung by the rajas. I want to finish this, I want to accomplish that, I want to be known, I want to be respected, I want to become rich, I want to amass as much money as possible, I should be known so much to so many people, I want to travel many places, I want to go here, there, enjoy this, enjoy this. So much of demand from the life, rajas, continuously engaged in that. So that way also it binds. No, Swamiji, I am not a person of laziness. I am not a person who is stung by this desire and passion. I am a sadhu, quiet. I am interested in study. In the mood of sattva, there is seeking for happiness and knowledge, binding us with the intellectual pursuits. Sattva also binds. Rajas also binds. Tamas definitely binds. It may not be as tight as the tamas, but sattva also binds. Because there are people who are intellectually oriented. I want to know. I want to learn this. I want to study that. I want to research this. They are also busy engaged in this world, but not in the same way as the passionate rajasic person. But sattva also, intellectual pursuit also will bind you. So this way, whether you are in the mood of tamas, rajas, or sattva, bondage is for sure. The tree of life is binding you to the world of things and objects, and there is no doubt about that. So freedom is not possible so long as you are bound by this tree of life. Therefore, what needs to be done? Cut. How to cut? How to cut this mass, huge tree? See, you are not cutting the tree for everybody. At least your tree of life, which you are made of, that you need to cut. Why? To become free. So, discover the sword of discrimination through Shravanam. Attentively listening to the spiritual instruction. First of all, we must get convinced that there is a presence of something higher than me, which I need to realize, understand, and to become one with. Just like an arrow, which is taken by you and put it in the bow, placed it on the bow, and then you aim at the target and then release that arrow, the arrow finally reaches and becomes one with the target. And therefore, the journey of that arrow from the bow to the target is decided by the momentum that is given to that arrow by pulling the string, right? In the same way, first and foremost thing is I should know where I am going. What is my final goal? So that needs to be listened carefully. See, only a person who has already reached can give us the correct instruction, because he or she has already traveled and he or she knows exactly what are the obstacles that are on the way. So such a person alone can guide us and say, hey, I'm going to tell you the final goal that you need to reach, which I have already reached, and I know what are the various troubles that you may get on the way. So please be aware of these things. So the spiritual instructions must be listened carefully, attentively. That is the first step. The second step is to sharpen the sword with constant reflection, which is known as mananam. Rise above the impermanent objects of the senses through constant awareness about their binding nature. See, nobody wants to be caught. Nobody wants to be remaining slave. Nobody wants to remain bound. Is it not true? If somebody says, I'm going to bind you to a tree for one day, will you allow? You will not allow, because why are you binding me? First question, why are you binding me? I'm not ready. So if only we realize that we are already bound by our own mindless, passions and desires. So reflecting upon their temporary nature and binding nature, one should constantly remain above. See, when I am eating lunch or dinner, it is not the food decides how much I have to eat. It is not the plate that decides how much I have to eat. It is not the spoon or the fork this decides how much I have to eat. It is not the menu that decides how much to eat. It is not the restaurant that decides how much I should eat. Nothing decides how much I have. Even the body doesn't decide how much I have to eat. It is my mind. And in spite of the fact we know that it is our mind which decides when to eat and what to eat and when to stop, yet we don't. That is the binding nature. Why are we unhappy? Is the world is making you unhappy? Is your friends and families and relatives and neighbors are making you unhappy? No. You are making yourself unhappy. Think carefully that you will realize this. You cannot allow anybody else to make you unhappy unless you are weak. You have made someone capable of making you unhappy by you losing your freedom. You're not thinking about it. It is like, you're sitting in your chair or a sofa, and then you are watching a TV, and then you decided this channel is very boring, something. I want to see news. And you change the channel in your remote. As you press the button in the remote, the channel there changes. The scenery is changed. The content of the TV channel is changed. Who decided? You pressing the remote, right? Isn't it? The TV on its own won't do that. Similarly, the world is what is. How you perceive the world is depending upon what buttons you are using here in your mind. You click that button, the whole thing will change. The channel will change. So I have a choice of looking at the world the way I want. It is not the world that decides it. And that is what is called rising above. Do not get enslaved by the happenings in the world. Situations are good and bad, right and wrong. Afghan. So many people are getting killed, so many destruction is taking place. Yes, it is true. And I'm not denying the fact. Now, what way I can go and help, or in what way I can do something about it, that decision you have to take based upon the resources available to you. What are the, your professional and other knowledge that is available to you. Based upon that, whatever things that you can do, but you cannot stop that happening. It is not an individual's decision. It's a phenomenon. The pandemic that is going on, is it somebody's decision? Hope it is not. I hope it is not. If it is, then really it is a big problem. It has gone out of hand. Now, how much I can protect myself is my decision. Wherever I cannot say everybody should behave in the same way, all people should wear, all people should vaccinate. Good idea, but it won't happen. So how much ever I can protect myself, how much ever I can protect the family members, I should focus on that, not to blame the world and cry and then lament and complain. The waste of time. So, rising above situations by reflection, contemplation. Then comes the state of cutting the tree with the sharpened sword, is called nididhyasanam. Meditate upon the eternal self as one's own true nature. This is my own nature, my own being. That's why Gurudev said, clutching of consciousness from the inert matter vehicle is detachment. So cut the tree completely with the help of that sharpened sword through mananam, and having discovered the sword, first of all, sharpening it with the reflection, and finally cutting off the tree of life, which is binding by nature, with the help of the deep oneness with that Brahman in the seat of meditation, nididhyasan, one can cut this tree. Yeah. After having understood why, after knowing how to cut, what should be the purpose for which this is being cut? What is the goal? What am I that going to achieve out of this? That we will see in the next session. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkhabhat bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.